The gun has played a critical role in history, an invention which has been praised and denounced, served hero and villain alike, and carries with it moral responsibility. To understand the gun is to better understand history, and no man better understands this than John Moses Browning. John Browning is a man who has influenced gun innovation more than any other person in history. His firearms have been involved in every major U.S. conflict, from the Spanish-American War in 1898 all the way up to the Iraq War. One of his pistols even started World War I when it shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Bosnia, and his Browning assault rifle, otherwise known as the Bar, was the innovation that turned the tides of war for the Allies and won them the war in 1918. But this is just one conflict where Browning's inventions helped win the war. His 128 firearm patents not only played a part in conflicts, but have been used by American icons like Teddy Roosevelt, Annie Oakley, and most prominently John Wayne. John Morbius Browning was born January 23, 1855 in Ogden, Utah. Being the son of one of the most prominent gun makers in the U.S. at the time, John had a greater understanding of engineering principles that would later help him flawlessly machine and design parts. One day while he was working for his father, he saw a gun that was so poorly designed. He said, "Father, I could make a better one than this piece of junk." And so his father encouraged him to make a better one. While he didn't know it at the time, he would later go on to have 128 completely different patents. The first gun that he had designed utilized the idea of interchangeable parts, something that had never been used in firearm industry before. Every gun prior to this point was a one-off or a single production, in which blacksmiths would fine-tune each and every gun by hand individually. After he made his first gun, he started a small machining shop in Ogden, Utah, with 4 of his brothers. This shop would start by making 8,000 guns, each identical to the last. The first batch of lever-action rifles had a retail price of only $22 per gun, all of which sold out within the first week. After this, the president of Winchester, T.J. Bennett, got his hands on one of John's rifles and could not believe what he saw. He went all the way out from the East Coast to this small town in Utah just to see where these guns were made. When he got there, he thought he was lost and was assuming there would be a giant factory. But what he found was a small 2-story building with 5 young men working. Stunned at the sight of a young John Browning, Mr. Bennett asked Browning to lease him the patents so that he could sell these guns. This deal allowed Winchester, one of the largest companies in the U.S., to make tens of thousands of these new rifles each month. After this deal, Browning's rifles were in the hands of every American, putting Browning on the map as one of the most prolific gunsmiths in the world. His rifle designs evolved exponentially by simplifying his designs. These designs were so simplistic that he could disassemble and reassemble them blindfolded. Around 1895, John broke off his deal with Winchester due to the fact that John felt each of these deals were one-sided and that he was not making his fair share. After this, he partnered with popular gun companies like Colt and Remington to mass-produce his shotguns, pistols, and rifles. John Browning later died in 1926, but his new machine gun with the self-loading rifle designs were the most advanced of their kind and would remain that way to this very day. While it may sound like John Browning just made guns, the impact that his firearms made is unrivaled. His designs single-handedly gave users a significant advantage over the enemy. In World War I, the Allies on the front lines were being constantly pushed back. This was, of course, until the U.S. government contracted for an order of water-cooled, self-loading machine guns designed by Browning himself. The M1917 machine gun allowed for endless fire, unlike the jamming and overheating guns that the enemies experienced. This allowed for cover to be given at higher rates and for longer periods of time than ever seen before, allowing for the lines to be moved forward at a faster pace. His .50 caliber machine guns gave air dogs in World War II 9 whole yards of ammunition to defend themselves. Thus the phrase, "give 'em the whole 9 yards, it's Morbin time." Even though he had been dead for many years at this point, his guns were the primary tools used by the US military against the Axis powers. His 50 caliber bullet is still the most practical anti-personnel round to this day. John Browning's guns would yet again be the primary firearms that would be issued during the Vietnam and Korea conflicts, as well as many other conflicts that the US were involved in. Without John Browning's visionary views on assembly and machine processes, America as we know it would not be the state that we know it to be today. His guns have had a wide range of uses, such as killing off the buffalo, carnival shooting guns, being a common defense firearm, and most importantly, the largest reason that America won both world wars. The impact of his inventions are unmatched. John Browning was a true American innovator.